Podcast statistics and data March 2022. How popular are podcasts? Podcasting has grown drastically and steadily since it began in the early 2000s. In 2022, 51% of the population has listened to a podcast and roughly 78% are familiar with the medium. According to Edison Research, 41%, 116 million, listened to a podcast in the last month. Who listens to podcasts? The United States accounts for 47.9% of podcast listeners, followed by the United Kingdom with 6.3%, and Canada with 5%. U.S. podcast listener demographics. Female listenership reached an all-time high in 2021. International podcast statistics. 58% of adults in South Korea listen to podcasts every month. Nearly 38% of adult Canadians have listened to a podcast in the last year. According to Voxnest, podcasting is growing fastest in the following countries. Chile plus 83.9%. Argentina plus 55.3%. Where do people listen to podcasts? 62% of Americans have listened to audio in a car using their cell phone. 49% of podcast listening happens at home. What are the most popular podcasts? The Joe Rogan Experience. Office Ladies. Most popular podcast directories. As of March 2022, Apple Podcasts holds the #1 spot with 35.7% of all podcast listeners, 33,352,613 podcast downloads. Listener behavior and trends. Podcast listeners are also more likely to follow brands on social media and own a smart speaker, like HomePod Mini or Amazon Echo. 80% of listeners listen to all or most of every podcast episode they start. Average podcast episode length and frequency. 20 to 40 minutes 30%. 8 to 14 days 40%. Podcast discoverability. 52.6% of listeners find new podcasts by searching a podcast directory like Apple Podcasts. Podcast advertising trends and performance. 60% of podcast listeners have bought something from a podcast ad. 81% say they pay attention to ads more than they do to radio, TV commercials, or billboards, and even digital ads on social media. 22% said there are way too many podcast advertisements compared to other forms of media. The future of podcasting. Here are some industry predictions for 2022 and beyond. Industry experts expect podcasting to grow significantly in 2022 as on-demand audio increases in popularity.